Havoc Demon Hunter looks easy until you're drowning in Fury, cooldowns, and random soul fragments. If you want to actually feel smooth, in control, and hit like a truck, I'll show you exactly how to do it. Step by step, let's go. Havoc Demon Hunter is built around momentum. You're always moving forward, spending Fury to attack, generating more resources through your abilities, and creating powerful bursts when the opportunity appears. At the core of your gameplay are two key resources, Fury and Soul Fragments. Fury is your main fuel. You build it automatically through your auto attacks thanks to Demon Blades and by using abilities like Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, and Fell Blade. Fury lets you activate your damaging abilities, it keeps you active, aggressive, and constantly moving. So how do you generate it? Immolation Aura is your Fury maintenance tool. It's a short cooldown that generates Fury passively while dealing steady AoE damage around you. Sigil of Flame is your ground targeted ability. It deals damage over time, generates extra Fury, and spawns soul fragments, making it important for both maintaining your resources and setting up for bigger windows. Fell Blade is your emergency button. If you're running low on Fury, Fell Blade refuels you instantly and doubles as a gap closer for repositioning quickly during fights. And just a side note about Fury management, don't stress too much about slightly overcapping on Fury. With your talents, it's normal to sometimes hit maximum Fury briefly. It's more important to keep abilities like Immolation Aura and Sigil Flame on cooldown to maintain your flow and soul fragment generation. So how do you spend Fury? You mainly spend Fury with two abilities, Blade Dance and Chaos Strike. Blade Dance is an incredibly efficient Fury spender that cleave nearby enemies, but thanks to talents like First Blood, it also becomes one of your highest damage abilities even in single target. And Chaos Strike is your primary Fury spender. Whenever you have excess Fury and nothing else high priority available, you dump it through Chaos Strike. At the same time, Soul Fragments are appearing naturally around you as you fight. Building up Soul Fragments is crucial because later on they'll unlock some of your strongest damage windows. For now, just know the more souls you gather during combat, the stronger your flow becomes. Now, how do you generate these soul fragments? Sigil of Flame and Sigil of Spite. Both of these sigils spawn a soul fragment immediately on cast, thanks to the Soul Sigils talent. Chaos Nova. Stunning enemies can also cause fragments to spawn, giving you extra pickups, especially in large AoE packs. Thanks to the Demonic Appetite talent, Chaos Strike and Annihilation also sometimes spawn lesser soul fragments, giving you another steady way to build them alongside your other abilities. And finally, enemy deaths. Anytime an enemy dies near you, the Shatter Souls passive drops a fragment on the ground. Another ability worth mentioning is Throw Glaive. Throw Glaive starts as a low priority filler spell, something you only press when nothing else is available. Later on with your hero talents, it'll become one of the cornerstones of your empower damage cycles. Optional tip: Vengeful Retreat and Initiative buffs. In your current build, Vengeful Retreat is not a major part of your gameplay. You can safely ignore it for the most time, but if you want to optimize slightly, you can weave it in before I-Beam or Metamorphosis to refresh your initiative buff. Just don't overthink it, use it when convenient without forcing it. Now that you know your basics, let's look at your major cooldowns. Metamorphosis is your primary transformation ability. When you activate it, you gain a 20-second window of dramatically increased damage. While Metamorphosis is active, you gain 20% haste, Chaos Strike upgrades into Annihilation, Blade Dance upgrades into Death Sweep, and the cooldowns of I-Beam and Blade Dance reset instantly, letting you open with a huge burst. I-Beam is one of your major cooldowns. It costs 30 Fury and has a 40-second cooldown. When cast, I-Beam deals heavy chaos damage to enemies in front of you, and thanks to the Demonic talent, it briefly transforms you into demon form for 5 seconds. During the channel, I-Beam also generates a large amount of Fury, usually filling your Fury bar completely. Because of its high damage, its transformation effect, and the Fury it generates, you want to use I-Beam on cooldown whenever it's available. And your last major cooldown, the Hunt. The Hunt is your instant burst cooldown. It delivers a big hit of damage, follows up with a heal over time effect, and if you're using Aldrachi Reaver Hero Talents, it instantly empowers your next throw glaive, giving you immediate access to your empowered cycle. Now that you understand how Fury fuels your ability, how soul fragments build naturally around you, let's talk about how Aldrachi Reaver transforms those fragments into some of your strongest burst windows. With Reaver Talents, every time you collect 6 soul fragments, your next throw glaive becomes empowered into Reaver's Glaive, dealing much higher damage than normal. After you throw an empowered glaive, you gain 2 important effects. Your next Blade Dance gains extra slashes, dealing even more cleave damage, and your next Chaos Strike deals significantly more damage. In other words, landing an empowered glaive doesn't just boost your throw glaive itself, it creates a short burst window where your core spenders hit much harder. One of your biggest goals while playing Aldrachi Reaver is to keep Thrill of the Fight active for as much time as possible. Thrill activates after you consume both empowered abilities, Blade Dance and Chaos Strike, granting you a large attack speed and healing buff for 10 seconds. Ideally, you want to chain new Thrill buffs naturally as the old one expires without overlapping too much. If you're already under the effects of Thrill and about to generate another empowered glaive, it's sometimes better to wait a few seconds, especially during long boss fights, so you don't waste valuable uptime by refreshing Thrill too early. In fast Mythic Plus pulls though, it's usually better to chain empowered glaives aggressively unless you're confident the pack will live long enough for careful optimization. Along with Thrill of the Fight, the Aldrachi Reaver tree also gives you Wounded Quarry. Wounded Quarry makes your River's Mark target take bonus chaos damage from all your physical attacks, and sometimes drop a soul fragment too. And Incorruptible Spirit, collecting soul fragments grants you a small absorb shield, helping your survivability in dungeons. In simple terms, with Reaver Talents, soul fragments becomes the fuel behind your fastest burst of damage, and maintaining high thrill uptime is what turns those bursts into sustained pressure throughout the dungeon or boss fight. Now that you understand your Fury flow, soul fragment generation, and cooldowns, let's go over your exact single target priority system. Before we go over these steps, it's important to note this isn't the streak cast sequence where you press buttons in a fixed order. It's a priority list. You always try to use the highest priority ability that's available, and if that's not ready, you move down the list until you find something you can cast. Here's the correct priority for Havoc Demon Hunter in single target. First, throw Reaver's Glaive immediately when it's empowered. This is your top priority because every empowered glaives leads you into a fresh Thrill of the Fight buff, and maintaining that buff is one of your main gameplay goals. Second, cast Sigil of Spite to generate souls. This is your best tool for quickly creating a large burst of soul fragments, which lets you get much closer to your next empowered glaive, and another big damage window. Third, use the Hunt if you don't already have a Reaver's Glaive proc. Just make sure you spend any existing Reaver's Glaive first, because the Hunt gives you an instant proc and you don't want to waste it. Fourth, cast Death Sweep when available. This is your upgraded version of Blade Dance while you're in demon form, and it hits so hard it takes priority over almost all of your core abilities. Fifth, cast Immolation Aura if you have 2 charges. You don't want to cap on charges. Plus, with the Ragefire talent, Immolation Aura deals significant AoE damage alongside generating Fury. Sixth, cast I-Beam on cooldown. I-Beam deals huge chaos damage, grants you a strong haste buff, and restores your Fury. There is no reason to delay it, fire off as soon as it's ready. Seventh, if both I-Beam and Death Sweep are on cooldown, pop Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis extends your demon form, resets your I-Beam and Blade Dance cooldowns, and lets you immediately jump back into a burst window. Eighth, cast Blade Dance normally when it's available. If you don't have an empowered Death Sweep ready, regular Blade Dance is still a fantastic Fury spender. You want it on cooldown as often as possible. Ninth, cast Annihilation when possible. Annihilation is the upgraded version of Chaos Strike while in demon form. It's your go-to Fury dump during these empowered windows. 10th, use Fellblade when you're below 80 Fury. Ideally, you want to use Fellblade on cooldown when it lines up with you being low on Fury. 11th, use Sigil of Flame if you're under 90 Fury. Sigil of Flame not only deals solid damage and generates 30 Fury, thanks to the Soul Sigil's talent, it also spawns a Soul Fragment, helping you push forward to your next empowered glaive faster. 12th, spend excess Fury with Chaos Strike. When everything else is unavailable and you're overcapped on Fury, Chaos Strike is your general purpose dump to keep your rotation flowing. 13th, use Immolation Aura if you only have 1 charge remaining. Even outside the double charge cap, you want to keep Immolation Aura rolling steadily for continuous Fury generation and Ragefire damage. 14th, if all else fails, you can throw a regular Throw Glaive or Fell Rush to fill globals. Use Throw Glaive when you can't reach your target, or Fell Rush to quickly close the gap back into melee range. When you're fighting multiple enemies, Havoc's core core gameplay doesn't fundamentally change. You're still building Fury, spending it aggressively, collecting soul fragments, and throwing empowered glaives as soon as they're ready. But a few key differences become more important in AoE and Mythic Plus. Here's what changes. Immolation Aura becomes a much higher priority. In AoE, you cast it immediately if you reach 2 charges, and then again on cooldown, because with the Rage Fire talent it deals massive AoE damage over time, but because it's naturally cleaves, it becomes even more important to use on cooldown during AoE fights. Sigil of Spite becomes slightly less urgent than Death Sweep, but still remains an extremely high priority to spawn more soul fragments for empowered glaives. Fellblade is slightly less urgent. You still want to use it to refill Fury when you're low, but you'll often generate enough naturally from Immolation Aura and Sigil of Flame. Everything else, your empowered glaive, your hunt usage, eye beam, and metamorphosis stays the same as your single target priority. Havoc Demon Hunter rewards players who stay active and react quickly. The more you trust your instincts, building Fury, collecting soul fragments, and spending aggressively, the more natural and satisfying the spec will feel. Don't stress about playing perfectly. It's normal to sometimes miss an empowered window or overcap on Fury early on. It's all part of the process of learning. If you find this guide helpful, don't forget to give it a like. It really helps the channel out. And if you want more beginner-friendly WoW guides just like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. And hey, if you have any questions about Havoc or just want to share your experience learning the spec, feel free to leave a comment down below. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.